Donald Trump doesn't know shit about the auto industry.
The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. We're going to beat them. If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
Okay, we've got a Harris rally. We're going to look at some of Sean Fain there, some of Harris, and at the end, there is a bit of a now viral moment with Kamala that I feel the need to address as well, offering some pushback to the way she handled it. So make sure that you stick around for that as well. But let's start with the attacks on Trump.
You know, every time Donald Trump gets a chance, he trashes our union and he trashes the working class. He comes to Michigan. He talks about he's going to bring back the auto industry. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump doesn't know shit about the auto industry.
Donald Trump stymied the auto industry in producing electric vehicles, ceding that ground to China, which is something that has, since Biden has focused on it, created tens of thousands of jobs and could have created much more if Trump had went ahead and started it instead of just largely ignoring it, before then allowing auto corporations to move overseas for cheaper labor. And in his tax cuts, he cut the foreign tax rate to zero, effectively removing any incentive to not go overseas, as companies can now not only get cheaper labor overseas, but they would have no additional tax rates or punishments in doing so. And his record on labor overall is just equally as horrendous. I don't know why any union would support the Republican Party with Trump at the head of the ticket. He allowed managers to freely discriminate and retaliate against union workers, restricted unions' ability to advocate. He targeted workers' freedoms to negotiate for better conditions in the workplace, revoked the Department of Education's longstanding union contract. He turned a blind eye to the misclassification of workers that affected almost 30% of workers being misclassified as independent contractors, so they didn't have to be insured. They didn't have more rights to fight for wages, these kinds of things, when then stacking the NLRB with corporate lawyers and anti-labor voices at every turn of the way he could. Do not mistake it. He fought for the owners and against the workers.
Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud. 34 counts, to be exact. Hold on. You know what? Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November.
This is a very classy response, and it's a stark difference from Trump, who would play into these exact chants about Hillary in 2016, saying that he would go after her, urging them to keep chanting. He would chant with them sometimes. We've played all the clips on this channel, and it also destroys the MAGA narrative that Democrats want to lock up their political opponent. I mean, first, grand juries indict, juries convict, so it in no way could be up to Democrats. It's up to everyday Americans like you and me. But Kamala doesn't even want to feed into that kind of energy. She wants to beat him in November. She said right here, let the courts handle it. We're going for him in November. MAGA has to be coping so hard right now. Like, their tears are just hitting the keyboard as they're listening to this, typing an angry comment saying, no, they do want to lock up their political opponents, when Kamala is just seemingly doing almost everything right. She's shooting down these narratives and continuing momentum forward in her campaign.
He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
Okay, I want to clarify before we jump into this, I don't think this should be campaign ending. I don't know how much it will even hurt her momentum, and I don't think that we should stop supporting Kamala for this, but I do think this is mildly disappointing and a big miss. These were pro-Palestinian protesters she's speaking to. They had been chanting about how they will not vote for genocide. Remember, Michigan is where the uncommitted vote was the strongest, and that's a justified reason to protest given there is a legitimate genocide going on. So I think her owning or slam dunking the sentiment that's shared throughout a large part of the base that she needs to win is a very bad move. People are worried that she won't break from the Biden administration in supporting and enabling the genocide. And this was her first chance to make a real statement in that regard. And instead of giving credence to their concerns, instead of giving assurances that she will be different, maybe laying out what her perspective actually is, she decided to completely shut them down for cheers. I want to say that the talking point of, well, if you want the right to win, is a scare tactic that doesn't play well with that side of the base anymore, especially when effectively at this point, both Dems and Republicans have enabled the genocide. So to me, this does nothing but to stand to possibly halt some of the momentum she's been seeing, where tons of disavowed Democrats who broke off and wouldn't support Biden over this hadn't been hopeful that she may be different. There were Biden staffers who said she would be more empathetic to the situations, but now these voters may feel like their voices won't be heard. And I will say that, in my opinion, I don't think that this should be the end all be all for supporting her. I'm still hopeful that she will break from the Biden administration on this matter. And she almost now has to lay out what her policy will be to fight off some of the negative backlash I'm sure will come from this. Again, it's going pretty viral, but I do think this was worst case scenario in terms of politically strategic ways to respond, especially in Michigan, where that's a state that she almost definitely has to win if she wants to win the presidency. And again, the uncommitted vote was the strongest there. So I just don't get why she would take this moment to give some assurance. Sure, maybe she didn't know what they were chanting. Maybe it's something like that. Again, you got to give her some benefit of the doubt. But this was a moment where she could have further united the base and the momentum she's been seeing. And instead, she effectively did the opposite of that.